Morning, everybody. I'm Vern Tepe, Chairman of the Transportation Committee. It's lovely to see so many people excited about being here this morning. So let's proceed with a roll call.
Berman, Iqbal,
Present.
Caius,
Caius present.
Leonard,
Leonard here.
Roth,
Roth here.
Williams, Doherty,
Here.
Pepe.
Tepe here. I believe we have a remote attendance request from Mr. Doherty. Any objection? Okay, thank you. Proceed with that. Approval of the minutes, December 16, 2024.
Mr. Chairman, this is Caius. I would ask for unanimous consent for the approval of the minutes from December 16th, 2024.
Any objection? Okay, so noted, all done. Public comment. Anybody signed up for public comment? Gee, wonder why they didn't want to be here this morning, perhaps. Can't understand.
Well, when you told them they had to wait outside.
Yeah. All right, Tom and Mike.
So this being Carl's last Transportation Committee meeting after 27 years at the county. Tom's going to say some words and he's got a couple slides for Carl.
All right. I'm glad that we have this opportunity to just kind of recognize some of the various efforts in the career of Carl. And so Carl, I hopefully the next 5 minutes, you can at least get a sense of what he's done and hopefully I hit some of the key highlights. Obviously it's kind of hard to, in a few slides, to sum up Carl's career, but I think it's important that we at least see who this guy is and what he's done for Kane County. I consider Carl a friend of mine, and I've known him for about 30 years, as well as I think that most of the staff have really enjoyed working for him over the years too. And I think between Carl and the KDOT staff that we have had an amazing team over the last couple decades and have accomplished a lot. So this is just to be able to spend a few minutes just kind of highlighting some of those aspects. Career-wise, Carl has his bachelor's in civil engineering. He got that from Washington University, as well as he's a licensed engineer both in Illinois and Missouri. He also received his Master of Planning, and then he also had some history before he came to Kane County with DuPage Mayors and Managers. He was their transportation planning liaison. This is actually where I met Carl about 30 years ago. We worked together for 2 years before I hired him to come work for Kane County. I will just share a little bit of that. Carl and I had a lot of fun working as planning liaisons. We probably had meetings maybe 2 to 3 times a week downtown Chicago back in the day, just working on various regional planning efforts, as well as the programming of the federal and state funds that had to go through the Metropolitan Planning Organization in accordance with federal law. And so it's there where I kind of learned who Carl was, and I saw the potential, and I even said to him the day I hired him that if you stick around, there's a good chance you'll be my boss someday. And so he ended up being my boss, and we've had a lot of fun working over the 30 years that we worked together. So we've worked at the regional level. We've worked representing Kane. So I did get to know him fairly well, and we thought this is a way that we could at least talk about some of his accomplishments, because I've seen him since his beginning here. During that time, I think Carl mentioned at the county board meeting that he worked for 4 different county chairs, 7 committee chairs, and 110 county board members over those years. Just to mention, his Masters of Planning, I think, was an excellent fit for what we needed to accomplish in Kane County with a lot of land use change. The population of Kane County grew by about 150,000 population growth during his tenure here at Kane County. And a lot of that was land use change. So the coordination of the land use component and the transportation component with Carl's knowledge in both areas, he was a good leader for both transportation and land use aspects. During his time here, he was part of the National Planning Co-op Award that we received from the American Planning Association. He was part of that team that put together essentially a co-op or cooperative where we work together, our various departments, whether it's the transportation, whether development department, health department, as well as we coordinate with our municipalities to ensure that a lot of our regional planning efforts are moving forward. So he was part of that whole effort. And then our impact fees. Our approach to impact fees, Carl was part of the approach in that. We had various components of having to look at the land use changes that were occurring along our county highways, the impact of that land use change, and how to address it. And so over the many years of the impact fee program, close to $50 million worth of impact fees have come in. And a lot of our projects were actually funded with impact fees, at least a portion of it or significant portions of our impact fees, as well as there were a lot of different permitting projects that occurred because of impact fees. So if you look at the overall impact fee program, probably close to $100 million worth of projects have occurred over the years, and we'll talk about a few of those projects in a moment. Moving on, he is recognized by his peers, both at the regional, state, and national level for a lot of the different efforts that needed to occur in the Chicago region in order to address a lot of our transportation needs. I was able to be with him as well as Mike when he received the Friend of the Industry Award from the Illinois Road and Transportation Builders Association last month. This was given to him because of his many efforts at the state level as well as the national level to make sure that the government perspective was understood for the Road Builders Association. He also received a number of a number of engineering awards, the Urban County Engineer of the Year Award from the National Association of County Engineers, as well as the Government Civil Engineer Award for the state of Illinois, and then the County Engineer Award for Zone 1 from the Illinois Association of County Engineers. And on the bottom there is a top 10 public work leaders of the year from the American Association of Public Works for the Chicago Metro. Please understand, though, that top 10 doesn't mean the top 10 for Chicago Metro. He was actually selected by the Chicago Metro area to as the #1 public works leader for this region. And so a lot of accolades, a lot of various awards that he has received relative to his professional career. The other one that's up there is the Community Involvement Award. That was a national award that he received, and that was from the American Public Works Association. And while there's a lot of different community involvement that he's been involved in, one of the biggest ones that most of you are probably aware of is CASA and the various efforts, as well as serving on the CASA board for a number of years. So a number of regional, state, and national committees that he has served on in leadership roles, as well as a lot of legislative efforts that he's participated in, which I won't go into it, but a lot of it was to make sure the interests of Kane County was protected, as well as our roadway, our highway systems were protected, and then also the infrastructure funding aspects. Over his tenure, we saw a lot of inflation costs for the roadway improvements that needed to occur. We saw a lot of projects that tripled in costs, and the funding in order to ensure that we could adequately address the growth that was occurring in Kane County, as well as the maintenance aspects. we worked on various legislative efforts to address that. As far as accomplishments, I just wanted to spend a few minutes. He and the KDOT team have received dozens and dozens of various awards. One of the biggest projects that we did was the Stearns Road Bridge Corridor, which also received in 2012 the Eminent Conceptor Award. That's the #1 project of the year for the state of Illinois. And there was probably 13 awards, I think, that Stearns Road Corridor received, both at the state and national, and even one international award that the Stearns Road received because of the sustainability aspect of the project. I think some of you are aware that there's a number, I think a couple hundred, 250 maybe acres of open space that was part of the Stearns Road Corridor in order to protect some high quality fens along the corridor, and to ensure that Stearns Road just didn't become a highway corridor, but it was an environmental corridor. And because of that, even at the international level, that it received an award. There are many projects. So in fact, we were just informed that at the regional level for the Longmeadow Parkway, as well as Doberman project, that there were recent announcements of awards for those projects too that are coming up. And then to just highlight some of the projects that Carl's been involved in, we just listed a number of various projects of significance. Please understand that these are just some of the major highlights. On a given year, our department probably works on 70, 80, sometimes 90 projects a year. Many of them small in scale, but that maintenance effort is critical to ensure that we're moving forward and protecting the roadway system. But the ones that listed here are the true highlights of his career. Longmeadow Parkway Bridge Corridor, and I think most of you are aware of that corridor. It's a 5.6 mile corridor in north end of the county. A number of you were there for the ribbon cutting for that project. As far as impact fees, an example is the Galgan-Tyrrell roadway connection that occurred because of impact fees. Or to the west of that, the Plank Road connection in Burlington. He's also been involved with a number of interchanges, the I-90 interchange, the full interchange, as well as the I-88 full interchange. The Stearns Road Bridge Corridor, that one again received a lot of recognition over the years. And then the Anderson Road, Elburn Station, the Metro extension from Geneva out to the village of Elburn, as well as the roadway that connected into the station. A number of roundabouts that he's been involved in over the years, as well as the evolution of the Randall and Orchard Road corridor. Quite a few miles worth of that corridor were 4-laned, increased from 1 lane in each direction to 2 lanes in each direction. And then on top of that, he's because of the growth that Kane County's received, he's also had to work on some of the 6-laning aspects, which we've done with impact fees. And on the north end of the county in particular, as well as ultimately there's been some plans drawn up for the Orchard US 30 intersection. And then when Carl first started, how do I say this? There was a little bit of an attitude against bicyclists and pedestrians on our county highway system. Carl's an avid bicyclist, and I don't know. I'm only going to guess, but he rides his bike over, it seems like 90, 100 days a year. You're riding your bike into the office, even when it's cold out. Not as cold as today, but when it's cold out, he would ride his bike to the office from his home in Geneva. Because of that too, and a lot of different aspects of our department, the bicycle pedestrian aspect has been really enhanced in the county. And so these again are a lot of the different projects. There's many more I could have gone into, but I was told to keep it at 5 to 7 minutes. So I'm going to stop there. But again, it's been a lot of fun, Carl, working with you, and appreciate having been involved in so many projects with you over the years. And so that's kind of my highlight for Carl.
You'd like to say a few words?
Tom did a great job there. Yeah, I think there is a tendency for us to think back about our accomplishments, projects, the awards, all of that. And then that, of course, is great. I think the award that I like the title of the most is the Friend of the Industry Award. And it speaks to not just my service to Kane County, but to the industry in general. I spent some time with the American Road and Transportation Builders Association. I was on the board of that national organization. Really gave us a opportunity to influence what was happening at the federal level in terms of transportation bill legislation, and also on the policy side, what was the U.S. Department of Transportation doing with respect to policy. So that was a great opportunity for me personally, but it also gave Kane County a direct connection to what was happening there. So anyway, aside from all the accomplishments, I also appreciate the opportunity to connect with people. My best friends are from the industry. So I look back with a lot of gratitude for the opportunities that I've been given, and I appreciate the recognition. Thanks, Tom.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
Mrs. Caius. In particular, your survivability is amazing. You've been here 30 years, but for those who weren't on the board when Tom was riding his, Carl was riding his bike into work here and got run over by a car and still made it with his neck brace and everything on. We appreciate your dedication.
All right. Somewhat appropriate to move on to Justin and talk about finance.
Champagne.
Don't know how I can really follow that up, but thank you, Mr. Chair. The finance reports are in your packet. I can answer any questions you may have at this time. Hearing none.
Questions? Okay, let's move on to the resolution.
So the resolution in front of the committee today is moving the funding from transportation sales tax into the motor fuel tax fund. And so this is just an administrative item to move that funding.
Okay, I have a motion and a second.
Leonard, so moves.
Moved by Leonard,
Roth will second.
second by Roth. Any discussion?
Iqbal,
I'm sorry, Mr. Gripe?
Just a quick question. I was curious what criteria are used to determine that a bidder is responsible?
I can address that one. With each bid, we review the bids that were submitted against the RBO. The low bidder then is, we look particularly at their bid, find any discrepancies or shortfalls where they didn't meet the RBO, send them a notification saying here's the documents that are missing. We sometimes receive a response from that low bidder of trying to provide the appropriate documents. And in every case, they've been unable to meet the RBO. But the way the RBO is written right now, if the bidder and all the other bidders don't meet the requirements of the RBO, that we can then default to the purchasing ordinance and look at their bid like we used to before the RBO was implemented to see if they are qualified low bidder, and then make a recommendation for award to this committee for their consideration. So not only do we look at the low bidder, but we have to look at all of the bids to verify that all of the bidders have not met the requirements of the RBO, so that we can then default to the purchasing ordinance. So that's the way we've been operating since the RBO was passed.
Thank you.
And Mr. Chair, and this is Caius.
Caius?
Yeah, and the requirements this are in the county code, right? So if you want to look up I don't know if that was the gist of your question, what it is that the requirements are, you can see them in the county code under the RBO. And it's a work in progress. We're still working on it, but.
Mr. Doherty, your hand is up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question is, do we already approve this 4 million? Or was it just taken from the wrong fund?
My understanding, it's just changing the funding for it, but it's already been approved, yes.
Thank you.
Kind of a housekeeping.
Yeah, this is housekeeping to make sure that accounting is accurate. Okay, roll call, please.
Iqbal,
Iqbal, yes.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Ross,
Roth, yes.
Doherty,
Oh, yes.
Pepe.
Steffi, yes. Thank you. One of the pleasures I had a week or so ago was to have a tour by Mike through the facilities over at the transportation center. It's something I would recommend that everybody do. So in the meantime, please go ahead, Mike.
Thank you. Yes. Anyone is always welcome to come take a tour. I take great pride in our maintenance staff and our facilities there, so I love showing it off. The other thing I recommend, it hasn't been a good winter for snowplow ride-alongs, but if you ever want to do a ride-along, it's a good opportunity to see what those guys go through. I'll kind of lead into that with on the 14th of this month, we had a truck get hit by a semi. Everyone's okay, but Orchard Road and 30, the snowplow was heading southbound, had his wing out, and the semi decided to pass on the right in a paved shoulder and hit the wing and then take off. So that caused about $10,000 to $12,000 worth of damage to that truck and took that truck down for the day. So we're seeing this new form of aggressive driving, passing on the right. To be honest, it scares me to see that for the health of our guys and the safety of our guys. But we notice it, we see it, and we adjust. So with that, you'll see in the maintenance report, we're doing normal winter operations, snow removal, tree trimming, and pothole patching. I would like to show, though, as of January 9th, we've been out 12 times this season with an estimated 1,600 tons of salt used. Last time we were out 11 times and we used an estimated 1,500 tons. I put those numbers in there, but it's very hard to, not every storm is exactly alike. For one event, we will maybe use a little bit more because of colder temps. Like a day like today, we would have to use more material to get that snow and ice to melt. So those numbers are just kind of a guideline, but we are making every effort to reduce our salt usage with liquid capabilities, and our GPS actually tracks the amount of salt used per event. So I can tell you that we are seeing a reduction in salt usage. It's just hard to put those numbers on paper to prove it. Any questions on the maintenance report?
Okay, you have a resolution?
Mr. Gripe.
Yeah, quick question, if I may, Mr. Chair. Relative to that accident, glad to hear that everybody's okay. Do the trucks have dash
Sorry,
cams?
would you use the mic?
Oh, sorry. Do that. I was trying to. Do the trucks have dash cams?
Yes. So last year we demoed 8 dash cams. And then this year we put it on every plow truck. And then when we move into the transition into summer activities, we can actually take those dash cams out of the plow trucks and put them in our normal summer fleet. So we did capture the accident on the dash cam. It wasn't good enough to see a plate from the semi truck. It's just a good training videos for the guys for next year. I have a good selection of those, unfortunately, for training, but normally, I will say you are able to see a license plate, depending on the time of day, but this one was 5 o'clock in the morning, just couldn't make it out.
Permit me to expand upon that a little bit more. Not only do they have dash cams, they also have GPS. So at Control Central, up in Mike's area, he can see where every vehicle is and can also access their dash cam. So it's really quite impressive to see the way this is effectively managed throughout the process. So
Yeah, it's a great system. We spend about $30,000 a year, a little bit less than that. I think it's about $25,000 a year on that GPS. It's worth every penny. I actually was notified of the accident before the driver even radioed in. It sends me an email and a text message that says potential crash. So I knew right away that there was an incident.
And the other interesting thing is the way that KDOT cooperates with the townships and the other agencies around to help them too, particularly when we've got snow situations going on. So there's a lot going on over there. Okay, now go ahead.
All right, before you is a resolution for approving a purchase order for a new teleskid or skidster from JCB for a total of $132,888.25. This is via Sourcewell. I would like to highlight though on the purchase order, you will see that the MSRP normally for this skidster is $123,000. Due to the Sourcewell discount, we're gonna get it for $107,000. And then there's a list of attachments that's included that's also going to be in the purchase order. And those range from the buckets to the snow blower. And those are 10% off with the Sourcewell discount. This is in the FY25 budget and staff recommends approval.
Okay, can I have a motion?
Roth
and a
will make
second
the
to discuss?
motion.
Roth moves.
Leonard will second.
Leonard seconds. Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Iqbal,
Iqbal, yes.
Caius,
Yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Roth,
Roth, yes.
Mr. Doherty.
Doherty, aye.
Thank you. Tepe,
Tepe, yes.
passes.
All right. Next is planning and programming. Ms. Forbes.
Good morning, everyone. In your packet is the monthly program or planning and programming report. I wanted to highlight on our Kane Kendall Council of Mayors newsletter. There's information about PACE's revision project. There is a survey open now that's closing on Friday. They were kind enough to leave it open because I told them I would come to the meeting today and remind everyone to take the survey. There are two different concepts being brought forward by PACE. One that will increase coverage and one that will increase frequency of bus routes in Kane County. So if you had not had a chance, go ahead and go to their website, take a look at the presented maps that they have with these two proposals and take the survey so that you can provide input. I also gave you a flyer. It has a QR code that will take you right to the page. On the backside, it is in Spanish. There's extras out in the front there if you want to take one with you, but I encourage everyone to take a look at that. Also in the report is the update on the local funding calls. CMAP did have a call earlier for CMAC, TAP, and STP shared fund for the region. There were 6 applications submitted from the Council of Mayors from Aurora, Batavia, Elgin, and KDOT. And then just for your heads up, there'll be another funding call later this year from the Council of Mayors for the Surface Transportation Program local. We anticipate that'll be in the fall with announcements coming early next year.
Is,
And that's all I have.
Jackie, how long was this extended till?
Until Friday.
Till Friday.
Friday, the 24th.
Yeah, you have a resolution?
Yes. In your packet is a local agency agreement for IDOT for Randall at Illinois 72 project. We had various funding sources allocated to that, but I want to point out that we were able to secure an additional $3.4 million in federal funds to bring us up to the maximum of 80% funded by federal funds on this project. It originally, I believe, was scheduled for letting in 2027, but thanks to Candy Thomas and our consultant BLA Inc., they were able to accelerate the schedule and get us on the federal fiscal year 25. There is regional redistribution funding available, and we're able to tap into those funds to provide us with the extra funding for this project to get us to 80%. So this is just simply an agreement to say that we are going to secure these funds and work with IDOT, and we're anticipating being on the April letting this year. Recommend approval.
Caius would move.
Caius moves.
Roth will second.
Roth seconds. Any discussion? Any questions? Okay, roll call, please.
Iqbal,
Iqbal, yes.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Roth,
Roth, yes.
Doherty,
Doherty, aye.
Pepe.
Pepe, yes.
Passes.
All right, permitting.
Hello, good morning.
Morning.
So our permitting report is in your packet, and up on the screen above you are our ongoing projects in various different phases of review and or construction, and in addition to any access agreements and IGAs that we're currently involved with. If you have any questions.
Any questions? I see none. All right, you're done. All right, project implementation.
No,
I'm sorry.
operations.
Oh, traffic operations. Sorry.
Good morning. The report showing our work activities over the past month, a shorter report this time around, just reflecting this time of the year with construction shut down. A lot of administrative tasks that we're working on, closing out the financial work orders for FY '24. We're also staying on top of the knockdowns that typically pick up this time of year. So that's all I had for you this month.
Yeah. Any questions? Now we'll move on. Project implementation.
Good morning. Our Randall Road multimodal project, which involves the planning of a pedestrian path along the northernmost 8 miles of Randall Road, has our second round of public information meetings coming up in February. On Tuesday, the 4th, we'll meet at Elgin Community College from 5 to 7 p.m. And then on Thursday, the 6th, we'll also meet presenting the same information, but more in a northern location at the Algonquin Village Hall, also from 5 to 7 p.m. All the info for these meetings can be found on the project website at Randall Road Multimodal, all one word, .org.
How are you getting the information out on that?
We've sent postcards, over 600 postcards to the stakeholders who live along that corridor. We've also posted on LinkedIn, Facebook, and we've put out a press release to the county and also the DOT press release format. So we're hoping to capture a large number of people.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair. Vern?
Yes.
Mr. Chair, this guy is, I also have taken this to the, during public speaking to the Algonquin Village Board and the Carpentersville Village Board as well. So if anybody has any connections with township, and actually the township meeting as well.
Yeah.
Any township in that area.
Thank
I
you.
encourage you to make those announcements in public there as well.
Yeah, I mean, these events are really quite interesting with the examples of what options might be there and people there to explain it. And they're really great informative meetings.
They are. It's a shame that more people don't show up. I'm always surprised at for the lack of participation. Of course, a lot of the displays are online as well, so that helps. But I'm trying to get the message out to those people that would be most affected by it is important, I think. So.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Caius. We saw that the Village of Algonquin, and I believe maybe it was the Dundee Parks District, also posted advertisements for these public meetings on their
Great.
websites and on Facebook. And it's also advertised through Kane County Connects.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And then you have a few resolutions.
Yes, we have no construction photos this month. Our construction staff is closing out financials and helping us prepare contracts for the spring. First resolution in 2021, staff applied for and won federal HSIP funds to complete safety improvements on Plank Road. Earlier this summer, staff oversaw the construction of a similar safety project on another section of Plank Road. And it was determined that it is in the county's best interest to mill and resurface the existing pavement as part of this improvement. So staff is requesting an approval of an additional $23,154 in our engineering agreement with Kimley Horn to include this work in the Romkey Road to Briar Hill segment of Plank Road.
Roth will make the motion.
Roth moved, second by Mr. Iqbal. Any discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to know what caused this design modification because it's extra money to the taxpayers.
So as part of the safety project scope of work, we widened shoulders, we increased the width of the striping. We added, I believe, centerline rumble strips and some shoulder rumble strips. We found that we had a lot of run off the road type crashes on Plank Road, single 2-lane rural county highway. And we believe that these additional safety features will make the run off the road type crashes reduce. But we saw that when we added this additional shoulder and pavement striping, it was in our best interest to also mill and resurface the existing pavement on the drive lanes. And so that we're requesting that work to be added in as part of this overall safety project. So it was the experience of the previous segment on Plank Road that we're now requesting this additional work on these future segments of Plank Road. That's resolution B and C.
So, Mr. Chairman, this is an afterthought and it wasn't thought at that time when the design documents were created. That's why we are having this amendment and change the design documents. And this is an additional cost which could have been done without $49,000.
Okay, Mr. Darty, your hand is up.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Kind of along the same vein, I mean, it's really disappointing that we are farming out all of this engineering work at great expense when we have engineers in the house. I don't know what the problem is, but let's fix the house problem and stop farming out all this work. Thank you.
Don, would you like to respond to that?
Yeah, I think it's important to explain a little bit of our engineering process where there's a significant amount of disciplines that are involved. When you look at the various engineering, whether it's stormwater, when you look at the infrastructure aspects of it, when you look at the traffic aspects of it, we have only a few engineers in-house. And so the days of even being able to even do design in-house are long gone. And so I think it's important, maybe sometime in the near future, we can explain exactly what that process looks like. But when you look at the overall phase 1, phase 2, and construction engineering that's required, along with the state and the federal requirements, we would probably have to hire another 40, 50 engineers in-house in order to do a lot of these projects. And so it's not something that we would be able to do. Plus right now, engineering, finding qualified engineers is rare, especially at government level, because our salaries are so much lower than the consulting levels. And so it's something that probably almost 30 years ago, we stopped even doing in-house engineering because it was almost impossible. It is impossible. So I just wanted to explain that aspect of it. I think it's also important to know too, that a lot of the engineering takes significant amount of time. Maybe in the future too, we can bring a brochure that explains the process of a project. But sometimes the engineering aspects can take 5 to 10 years. And your dynamics, especially when you look at the pavement. Pavement can deteriorate pretty significantly over a 5-year time process. And so it's important that when we see these types of adjustments that are needed, that we respond to it. Otherwise, we're going to have to correct that maintenance part, the pavement maintenance aspect. We're going to have to correct it 5 years down the road instead of having a pavement that's in place for 12, 15 years. And so all of this is being evaluated. We try to keep the engineering costs to a minimum, and it's something that we don't like coming in here and asking for supplemental. But if we know that there's significant cost savings to the taxpayers over the next 5, 10 years, if we make a tweak to the overall engineering, we're going to bring it before you. That's we feel is our responsibility. And so I just wanted to kind of share a little bit of the process. Again, maybe sometime in the future, we can get into more of the details of how engineering is developed for many of these projects. And I don't know, Jen, if you have anything you wanted to add to that, but I just kind of wanted to give a big picture overview.
Yeah, no, I think you hit all the important aspects.
Mr. Chairman.
Right. Yes, Mr. Leonard.
Yes, I'd just like to make an observation here. I know on the Finance Committee, we have tried to take resolutions out of our agenda that are budgeted. These are budgeted items. I'm wondering why we're still presenting those for a vote.
Is this not an addition to the budget?
But it's within the budget. It says,
Where this
what's
was,
this item budgeted? And it says yes on both.
It is
but we
within.
have to change the resolution in order to have this particular company paid for associated with this.
So it's really a housekeeping.
Yeah, I think again, this is Tom Rickard. I think that you could almost treat it that way. There are kind of different thoughts in regards to is the budget an appropriation, and does that mean that we can work within the limits of the budget? But when we actually bring contracts forward and those contracts exceed $30,000, because Carl's authority as county engineer is only up to the 30,000 mark. We try to make sure that we bring any contract changes, and this is a contract change, and that's the reason why it has to go before, even though it's within our budget.
Mr. Leonard.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Rickard. I looked at the amounts of this resolution, the next one, and they're under the 30,000. So that's kind of what tweaked my
There's
concern.
this thing called stringing that we have to be really
Yes.
careful about. And so if the original contract was hundreds of thousands and then we're adding another 23,000, it is part of the original contract, and therefore we're required to bring it forward. I know it's a lot of extra paperwork, but we want to make sure that we're upfront and that there's transparency with all our expenditures.
I appreciate that. My only concern was I hate to try to micromanage as a board member, the operations of departments. And in this case, I just felt it was something I wanted to bring up. So
Appreciate
thank you
it.
very much.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Iqbal,
Yes.
Guys, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Roth,
Roth, yes.
Doherty,
Oh, yeah.
Pepe.
Steffi, yes.
Passes.
Similar to Resolution B, staff recommends the approval of an additional $25,698 in our engineering agreement with Kimley Horn to include that same scope of work, milling and resurfacing of the existing pavement in the next segment of Plank Road, County Line to Engle Road.
Roth will make the motion.
Roth moves.
Leonard will second.
Leonard second. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, roll call, please.
Iqbal,
Iqbal, yes.
Guys, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Roth,
Roth, yes.
Doherty,
Oh, yeah.
Pepe.
Steffi, yes.
Passes.
Next.
Last Friday, bids were opened at IDOT for the countywide recessed reflective pavement markers project, which includes installation of recessed reflective pavement markers and pavement markings on various routes within King County. Staff recommends approval of the lowest qualified bid of $545,287.50 submitted by Precision Pavement Markings.
Roth will make the motion.
Approved.
Leonard will
Leonard
second.
second. Discussion, please.
And the amount was, I know it's not listed here on mine, but is 500,000?
That's right. So, the bids were open just last Friday. We did have to include a blank resolution in your packets when we submitted previous to that, because IDOT requires us to either confirm or reject the lowest qualified bid within 45 days. And so we fall into this time crunch where if we waited for February to bring this resolution, by the time it passes through county board, we miss that window with IDOT. So we talked to Mr. Tepe before the meeting, and he agreed that to present the blank resolution in the packet was acceptable if we brought forth the low bid and bidder to you today.
For
$545,287.50 by Precision Pavement Markings.
Tom?
Yeah, I was just going to add that I did late Friday night, I did send out all the packet information with the actual numbers in it. And hopefully in front of you, we also laid out adjusted the to be determined. We gave you the resolutions as well as the information. So we don't like doing this, but we're required to. This only happens maybe at the most twice a year. It's very rare that the IDOT calendar requires that we do this.
Go ahead.
Any other questions? Okay, roll call, please.
Iqbal,
Iqbal, yes.
Guys, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Roth,
Roth, yes.
Mr. Doherty,
Already know.
Tepe.
Tepe, yes.
Passes with 1 no.
Okay, next.
On December 2nd, bids were opened at KDOT for the Randall at 72 tree removal contract, which includes the removal of trees prior to the improvement of the Randall at 72 intersection improvement, which will occur this summer. KDOT reviewed the low bid. It did not meet the guidelines set forth within the RBO. The bid was then reviewed for and is in compliance with the remaining sections of the purchasing ordinance. After completing this review, staff recommends approval of the lowest qualified bid of $83,092 submitted by Clean Cut Tree Service.
Roth will make the motion.
Kaya second.
Kaya seconds. Discussion, please. Nope. Roll call.
Iqbal,
Iqbal, yes.
Tice,
Guys, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Roth,
Roth, yes.
Doherty,
Doherty, aye.
Tepe.
Tepe, yes.
Passes. Thanks.
Next.
In order to complete the Randall Road and Big Timber intersection improvement project, right-of-way from 13 parcels is required. Staff recommends approval of this resolution, which authorizes the county to acquire the properties as described.
Roth will make the motion.
Leonard will second.
Leonard, second. Discussion. This is multiple properties. Yeah. Okay, roll call, please.
Iqbal,
Iqbal, yes.
Guys, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Roth, yes.
Doherty.
Already know.
I'm sorry, what was that?
No.
Thank you. Tepe.
Tepe, yes.
Passes with 1 no.
Okay, next will be presented by Mr. Schrader.
Thanks. Chairman Tepe asked me to cover this one, I think just to make sure I would show up for my last meeting.
No, you're responsible for this all the way through.
No,
He also made it the very last one too.
yeah. So this is for the Randall Road at Hops intersection realignment and railroad grade separation improvement. We'll go ahead to the exhibits. All right, so I thought I'd just start with what we're asking for first, and then I'll give you a little thumbnail of the project. And then we'll talk about sort of what is the process, what is Quick Take and what is the process involved. So our recommendation is that we request Quick Take legislation through the Illinois General Assembly. For this project, the purpose of that is that we have a $25 million federal infra grant, which is a competitive grant that we were awarded. That grant comes with a deadline. We need to be under contract by September 30th of 2026. So that's not that far in the future. That's the reason for the ask. I'll talk about the project a little bit. So if you've ever driven through Randall and Hops, let's see, I'll show you a picture here. So north is to your right. You can see Stearns McDonald on the far left of the exhibit here. As you head north, you cross the Canadian National Railroad at grade, and then there's a sort of an S curve, a reverse curve that you go through. And when you reach the Hops Road intersection, it's really quite a skewed angle. I think current angle is maybe 43 degrees or something like that. So the project does a number of things. First, it fixes that skew. So we're actually realigning Hops Road to a new angle of 75 degrees, greatly improved sight distance there. It actually flattens Randall Road out. So as you go through that curve, you're actually on a slight banking to make that curve. So by fixing the skew, we're able to flatten that out, and that improves safety as well. We'll be widening Randall Road in that area to 3 through lanes in each direction. So that will meet the cross section both north and south of there. And that's basically what the future of Randall Road looks like for the entire corridor. And then finally, the grade separation or the overpass of Randall Road over the Canadian National. So that's what the project is in a nutshell. You can see there on the bottom of this page, the land acquisition that's required. So we need property from 9 different property owners. You can see the breakdown there, 6.281 acres of fee simple. There's some permanent smaller areas of permanent easement and smaller areas of temporary easement that's also necessary. So we need to follow the federal process for all of those. Here's the picture again. You can see where the right-of-way is necessary. The biggest impact is at what would be the northwest quadrant there. You can see it's largely undeveloped property at this point in time. So that area allows us to flatten out the curve and do the realignment of Hops Road. Then you can see some of the area on the east side of Randall Road as well, and then some other pieces here and there throughout the corridor. Okay. So what we need to do, so here's the land acquisition exhibit without the project in it. You can see the area of take a little bit more clearly here. All right. So what we need to do is we need to request quick take authority through the legislature. There are a number of procedural steps that we need to do first before we can do that. So the county board has to pass a resolution requesting this authority. We need to hold a public hearing. We need to formally let all the property owners know that we're going through this process. And once we achieve all the steps, then we can approach the legislature and ask for this legislation to be introduced. Everybody is probably aware that we usually have the authority of eminent domain or condemnation. I don't have the statistics in front of me, but we don't go there that often. We vastly prefer to negotiate with the property owner. I would say the percentage of time that we go to condemnation might be 1% or something like that. We're almost always negotiating with the property owner and not needing to go to condemnation. So why are we asking for this authority? We have that tight time frame. If we don't hit the September 30th deadline, we'll lose that $25 million. And so that's the motivating factor here. A little bit of difference between what I'll call normal eminent domain and this quick take. So we do not generally have quick take authority. The state of Illinois does. Actually, IDOT has this quick take authority. So the courts are familiar with the process. Basically, once you, the purpose of the court case, of course, is to make sure that the property owners' rights are preserved so that they're getting fair compensation for their property. So in a normal eminent domain case, you would go through the entire condemnation, and at the end of the case, you would have a final amount of just compensation. And that would be the amount that the court would require the agency to pay for the property. And the property would not change hands until the entire court case is over. And the time frame for that is typically at least 18 months in current time frame. So 18 months in the future, we're already too late. So that's why we're asking for this authority. Now, the difference with a quick take is it's very much a similar process. You enter into court, and early on in the court case, there is a preliminary just compensation that's determined. So that amount is then deposited with the court, and the property changes hands much earlier in the process. And I have a couple of attorneys looking over my shoulder here to make sure that I'm saying it properly. But in layman's terms, the property exchanges much earlier in the court case. And that allows the agency, in this case, Kane County, to move forward with the project at that time, rather than waiting for the full court case to be concluded. So it's very much, it's a special form of eminent domain, and we're asking for it only to protect that 25 million of a federal grant. This resolution is one of the steps that we have to do before we even approach the legislature. So that's why we're bringing it to you for your approval. That's our recommendation.
All right, may I have a motion and second before we start discussion?
Leonard moves.
Leonard moves.
Ralph will second.
About second. Okay, this is something that had to be explained to me in depth, okay, which means I now conceptually understand it after hearing it a second, third time. It's something that's going to, again, require that not only the board pass it, but then we need the legislature to pass this, and that has to be done this spring. Okay, and I know that they've already copied some of the people in the legislature on this, and it's not something that is always favorably looked upon. So we may actually need, some assistance to make sure that this goes through. But we'd like to make sure that at least this committee understands this, hopefully, at least conceptually, as well as I do. Okay. Questions, Mr. Leonard?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Shadle, I think I have a understanding of what you've presented here. And a couple of questions. Number one, you had said with respect to the quick take process, you have to put money forward on a fair value of what the courts decide this land is worth.
Yeah, that's right. So the court determines it's called a preliminary just compensation, or PJC. That's based on appraisals that are provided by both parties. And so the court makes that determination earlier in the process.
The court's really the arbitrator on this, and then they decide which way to go. My question then is, with respect to that finding, what amount of money would that be? How do we fund that? And then I have one more question after you answer that.
I'm not sure I have the answer to your question in terms of the amount. We will be describing this project in more detail, obviously next month and moving forward. I would say, I think on the slide, let's see. We're using a figure of $60 million as sort of a planning level estimate for grand total on that project. And so you can anticipate for 6.281 acres of property, it'll be a significant amount, but not anything approaching that $60 million.
And the amount that you have to secure for the court on this money, once they come up with the figure, is that money available to you, or would that be through this grant money?
No, so we would also be needing to match the grant money with local funds, and those local funds are available.
Very good. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Iqbal.
A question to Carl. Would you be negotiating concurrently with the owner as you go through this process?
Yeah, I think as with any condemnation, we don't go right to condemnation. You always prefer to negotiate with the property owner and come to an arrangement. So we will do that first. And only when we cannot come, only if we're not able to come to an agreement with them, would we then go to condemnation.
Okay, good, thank you.
My comment would be the way it was explained to me is that this enables us to secure the property so that we have it and can protect the funds. But at the same time, the property owner's rights are maintained so that they would go through the proper process. So it's a matter of just making the space available earlier and worrying about the details of the actual amount of money later.
Yeah.
Took me a long time to understand this, so. All right, roll call, please.
Iqbal,
Iqbal, yes.
Caius, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Roth,
Roth, yes.
Doherty,
Doherty, aye.
Pepe.
Except a yes. Okay, before we move on, I want to just add a couple of comments here. When I met with the key personnel over at KDOT, there were some things that I felt really should be explained in more depth for the committee members and for the entire board, okay? Because we had this quick take thing, which is really quite unique. We decided not to do something this month, but next month, Mike and I will be presenting two projects, one that is essentially complete, the other one that is actually this particular project, and going over the finances of it, trying to share with you where that money comes from. You know, we always hear that, well, we get so much money from here, so much money from there. Well, what is it and how does that work and what's the timing of it? Okay, so our objective is to explain that in a relatively brief presentation, you know, next month. Okay, and in the following month, okay, Tom is going to talk about some degree about the bigger picture associated with the financing and funding of all of the projects. And it's my thought in particular that if we understand it better, we can do a better job of helping them and staying on schedule, because we may have some extreme financial situations coming up later in the year. Okay, so just to add that. All right. May I have a request to put reports on file?
Mr. Chair, this is Caius. I would request that we, for unanimous consent to place the reports on file.
Okay, any objection? Okay, reports are placed on file. And since it's the first of the year, we need to go over a release of closed session minutes. So may I have a motion to go into executive session?
Leonard moves.
Roth will second.
Roth second. Roll call, please.
Iqbal,
Iqbal, yes.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Roth,
Roth, yes.
Mr. Doherty,
Doherty, aye.
Pepe.
Tepe, yes.
On the closed session.
Thank you. There'll be a pause for a few minutes while we get prepared and some people leave. When you're ready.
Berman,
Thank you. Wait. Are you ready? Okay. All right, we are back in open session. Roll call, please.
Berman. It was here. Okay. Iqbal,
Iqbal present.
Caius,
Vice President.
Leonard,
Leonard here.
Roth,
Roth here.
Doherty,
Dory here.
Pepe.
Step here. Okay. May I have a motion on the release of closed minutes?
Roth will make the motion to
Leonard will second.
This is to release closed minutes as per
her
Addendum A.
Schedule A.
Okay.
Exhibit A.
Leonard.
Thank you.
Got it.
Yep.
Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Berman, Iqbal,
Iqbal, yes.
Caius,
Vice, yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Roth,
Roth, yes.
Doherty,
Dory, yes.
Pepe.
Step yes.
Yeses.
Okay, any new business?
Question, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Gregg.
Wasn't sure when to mention this, but I was looking at the purchasing card information report. And starting on page 56 and running for about, I don't know, a number of pages up to 62, there are fraud credits totaling about 221 for $50 each. And I'm glad we got the credit, but I'm a little concerned why there were 221 fraudulent uses of cards issued to the Transportation Committee.
I guess I'll take a shot at this because my name's on the credit card.
Aha.
So we got notification, I think on a Sunday, maybe December 2nd or 3rd, whatever that date was, that there had been fraud. So we called on Monday and there are more than what you're seeing there even. So somebody got a hold of somehow, we don't know what the mechanism was, but somebody got the number and started making fraudulent charges against the account. Several hundred different charges. They're all $50. They're all for these merchants that start with the letter SP. So that account was frozen. Obviously, we got a new card and we're still working with Chase Bank to resolve all of those charges. So I don't know what the answer is in terms of how it happened, but it does happen every couple of years in my experience.
I'm curious, thank you very much. If, we have a Chase card, I know if somebody starts doing something like this, did they notify you like it was your card? Did they let you know or start letting you know about these things?
Yeah, they notify whoever's name is on the card. And then also in this case, the purchasing department is the administrator of the overall P card system. So we both get notification there.
Do they still owe us money?
They still owe us money, yes.
And the county auditor?
That I don't know.
Okay. Thanks for bringing this to my attention. I'll make sure we talk to the county auditor.
Thanks, Mr. Chair.
All right. Any other new business? I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
Roth will make the motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chair, before we adjourn for the last time with Carl, it seems a shame not to do like a huge celebration for you. I want the champagne, but we can't have it here. Congratulations.
How many boxes of that streamers have you bought?
I got plenty.
Good.
I'm not ready to quit on celebrating.
Those
Thanks
were
for all your hard work, Carl.
Those were the $50 charges you saw.
Yeah.
Okay, motion made by Mr. Roth, seconded by
Leonard.
Mr. Leonard. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Carl,
Stay
for
warm.
everything.